All right, welcome back. In the next series of videos, I'm going to be talking about two very important documents, the course syllabus and the course calendar. And I want you to make sure that you have downloaded those documents, that you've read those documents, and that you know those documents. And to ensure that you do know them, there's going to be a quiz over them that's coming up. You're going to want to know these documents because, well, it's all the information about the course in the course syllabus, and the course calendar will tell you when readings, modules, and assignments are due. So they're very important. They can be found in the Canvas shell for our course, which you can see over here. You could get there by clicking this syllabus. Really, though, I want you to go here, syllabus and course calendar. If you go through here, it'll give you a brief set of information, but it's not the complete set of information. And then there's a link here that says everything you need is here, and that'll take you over to the syllabus and course calendars in the modules right here. And here's what I want you to download: this document here and this document here. So download those for me. Make sure you have them. Make sure you read them. They look like this. This is what the syllabus looks like as a Word document, and this is what the calendar looks like as a Word document. In the rest of this video, I'm going to talk about the first part of the syllabus. I'll continue talking about the syllabus in a subsequent video, and the calendar in a video after that. Make sure you read them, though, because I'm not going to talk about them. I'm not going to read them to you, okay? So here we go. Let's jump in to talking about the syllabus, which has all the course information, the course assignments, course policies, course resources, all in here. My name is Dr. Joseph Hassert, or Dr. Joe Hassert. I'm fine with you calling me Dr. Joe, Professor Joe, Dr. Joseph, Professor Joseph, Dr. Hassert, Professor Hassert. Any of those are fine. My pronouns are he, him. Here is my email address if you need to get a hold of me quickly or over a private matter. I'm going to talk further about how to communicate with me in this course. One thing that I want you to know about our student drop-in hours: we don't meet ever at a given time as a whole class, but at the beginning of each week, I'll announce an hour sometime during that week in which I'll jump on Canvas Chat, and I'll stay on Canvas Chat just for an hour for general questions that you might have, or just for extra help on assignments. This is kind of like office hours in a traditional educational setting, where you might drop by my office, but instead you can drop by the chat. And I'll show you the chat here. Is in Canvas, and it's right here. It's chat. And it's basically like a chat room, you know, and so you could type a message in here. You would see if I was in here by one person online. I'm in here. And then you just type the message and send it. So if you had like questions and things, and you happen to be available when I was here, I'll announce it. You can jump in. You can ask me those questions. Otherwise, if you have a need to meet with me one-on-one, say for extra help with assignments, you can schedule that. We'll do a Zoom meeting probably, and you can message me through email with several times that are good for you, and then I'll select for those times the time that works for me, and then we can meet virtually for extra help. But other than that, we're not meeting together at any times. There'll just be weekly assignments that will be due periodically. Course description: this is an oral communication class, a class all about speaking, and it's really about public speaking. And we're going to be learning theories and models of communication that will help us give effective, ethical, and empathetic public speeches. we will apply what we learn throughout the semester to graded speeches. There'll be 3 graded speeches. To help you do those 3 graded speeches, we'll do some textbook readings. You'll watch some recorded lectures. There'll be some quizzes, a final exam at the end of the semester, as well as some group discussions that will be graded along the way. The textbook for the course, as you might have noticed, in the bookstore is not listed. That's because we're using an open access textbook, one that's free. So you don't need to buy it, but you do need to download it using one of these 2 links here. I'd prefer that you did the PDF, but there's also a website version of the text available, and I'll show you that right here. Here is the PDF version you can download from this web page. You click on this, it downloads it as a PDF. You just need a PDF reader then to open up that document. I recommend that you use the PDF because it has page numbers in it, and that'll be helpful for you in taking notes, as well as you'll see on the course calendar there's a few times where I ask you to read a certain set of page numbers. The other version of the textbook that you can get is the website version. You go here, you click read book, and then you can navigate through the contents of the book here. There's no page numbers though, and you need the internet, of course, because it's a website, not a file. So I definitely recommend that you do the PDF so that you don't need to be online, but the choice is yours. Those are the 2 ways to access the textbook right here. By the way, the author, Dr. Maggie Mapes, is a friend of mine. I went to graduate school with Dr. Mapes, and it's a really good book. It's just as good as any of the books that you have to pay for, and I endorse it. So when reading the textbook, please know that we're going to read it out of order. And so I've arranged the speeches, I've arranged the readings according to the speech processes. I've created it. So make sure that you see the course calendar that I'll talk about later for the dates for the reading assignments. Reading the text is important because it's going to help you do the speeches. And also there'll be a quiz for each of the chapters that we read. So take notes, pay attention to key terms and concepts, and apply what you're reading to the assignments themselves. I already talked about the course rationale in a previous video, so I'll skip that. You can reread it if you'd like. There are really 4 ways that I'd like you to consider communicating with me. And so consider this before you reach out to me. What are you seeking from me? That'll tell you how you should go about communicating with me. One way you can communicate with me is in the Common Course Questions board. This is a discussion board on our Canvas page, and all students can see and post into this discussion. And if you have a general question about an assignment, a course policy, a concept from our reading, something that other students might learn from or find helpful that's not personal to you, this would be a great place to go to. Also, you might find that some other student has encountered an issue that you have already, and it's been addressed there. Further, if you go to the Common Course board and you see a question that another student is asking and you have the answer, you can answer it. That way, we might supply the answer quicker than I can. So use the Common Course question boards for common questions that you have. Let me show you where that is at. Back to our Canvas shell in discussions, we can go to Common Course questions. Do you have questions about the reading, an assignment, so forth? You can make a post here. I'll check it periodically and answer them and make sure that any answers that students have given are accurate. So that's the Common Course questions board. Use Canvas email. Email me directly or through the Canvas Messenger, directly through your CSN email or using the messenger in Canvas. You can message me directly, and you can use that for personal questions that don't concern other students generally. So if it's anything personal, if you need an extension, this is where you would email me directly to talk to me about that issue. There's another place you can talk to me about particular assignments. Let's say after you've submitted a graded assignment, I've graded it, I've given you feedback. If you had questions about that assignment, you can use the comments section on that assignment submission page to talk about that assignment. So if I give you feedback on a speech, go to the speech assignment and ask me a question there if you have a question about the feedback for that speech or about the grade I gave you for that speech. And then lastly, I already mentioned this, but there'll be weekly drop-in hours. I'll announce them at the beginning of every week. And they'll be in the chat. You can also schedule your own private meeting with me as well. I will log into Canvas every Monday through Thursday. I'm going to check my emails once a day and strive to answer all emails within 24 hours, excluding the weekends and holidays. Generally, I don't grade work early, so if you submit it early, don't expect feedback early. I usually wait until the due date has passed before I start grading, and it'll take me usually 1 to 2 weeks to complete the grading. Here you can find out what materials you need in terms of the computer and the browser that you'll need to access Canvas. You're also going to need some way of recording your speeches, like a phone, right, with a video and audio recording. Some sort of video camera would work. You need to be able to record your speech, upload that video to YouTube, and then submit the YouTube link to Canvas. That's the general way of doing it. There is a whole module in Canvas about how to record your videos, how to set up a YouTube account, how to upload the videos to YouTube. So there's more to come on that in the in the Canvas modules. Here are the basic learning objectives in the course. You can read those along with the skills that you're going to need to do well in the course, and the qualities of a successful student. So 11 things that I recommend you consistently do in order to perform well, in order to be an outstanding student in the course. So take a look at these and make sure that you're emulating these qualities in your performance throughout the semester. Here is a chart that contains all the course assignments that will be graded and their associated point values. Notice a lot of points are coming directly from speeches and as well as from quizzes. And there's a bunch of other miscellaneous assignments. I'll talk briefly about these in just a second. All of these assignments add up to a total of 1,000 points, and here is the letter grade scale. At the end of the semester, I'll take the total number of points that you've earned, rounded to the nearest whole number. I'll look to see where that fits within these ranges here, and then I'll assign the letter grade that's associated with the number of points that you earned based on your performance in the assignments. You can keep track of your grade through the Canvas gradebook, which will be updated throughout the semester. You can calculate your grade manually as well. And I give you a description of how to calculate your grade manually. Just keep in mind, if you miss an assignment and it's not marked as a 0 in the grade book and it has a dash in it, that means it's ungraded at that moment, and your current grade does not include that missed assignment until I come in and put a 0 into that assignment in the grade book. And sometimes I miss those, and I go back a few weeks later and I see that I missed it and I put a 0 in. Anyways, what I'm trying to say here to you is if you miss an assignment, expect that to become a 0, and make sure you look really closely at the grade book to make sure that you're not assuming your grade is higher than it really is going to end up being when I put the 0 in. Okay. Late and missed assignments. Generally, if you're a few minutes late past the submission when you complete the submission, it's not usually a problem. I'm not up at midnight usually when the assignments are due, and I don't usually check them until the morning. So, as long as the submission is completed within a reasonable amount of time from the deadline, it's usually not a problem. Remember that uploading videos to YouTube can take a bit of the time, so take that into account. If you need an extension, I'm generally able to give you one, but you must communicate with me ahead of time so that I can approve the extension and change the assignment settings. If you wait till the last minute to ask me for an extension, I'm not going to guarantee you an extension. You may end up with a 0. So expect a 0 on all late and missed assignments with some of those caveats that I just mentioned. Speeches, there will be 3 graded speeches this semester. A speech of introduction where you'll talk about yourself, an informative speech where you'll be conveying information about a particular topic to an audience. It's like a research speech, and a persuasive speech where you'll be making an argument, arguing that a certain policy should be adopted in order to solve a certain problem. So those are the 3 genres of speeches. For each of the speech assignments, I'm going to post to Canvas several things that will help you do those speech assignments. There'll be a Word document, assignment, prompt, and rubric that will explain in great detail how to prepare for the speech and everything that I'll be evaluating in the speech. I'll give a detailed video lecture that will go over that assignment prompt and the expectations for the assignments. And I'll provide you with sample outlines of what a student's speech might look like for that assignment. Those are just to help you get a sense of what the speeches might look and sound like. You should not copy these sample speeches or draw from these sample speeches for your content. Note the following speech submission requirements. All assignments are going to be due at 11:59 on the day that assignment is due. So that's like at the last minute of that day. And same with your speeches. So you'll submit your speech to Canvas, a YouTube link of the speech. Make sure your YouTube video is set either as public, or I'd recommend setting it as unlisted. If you set it to private, don't do that. I won't be able to watch it. If you set it to unlisted, I'll be able to watch it, but nobody will be able to find it. If you set it to public, potentially somebody else could be able to find it without the link. So definitely recommend setting your YouTube videos to unlisted and then uploading that link to the video submission page on Canvas. If you're unable to do that in time by meeting the deadline and you didn't make arrangements for an extension with me, I'm not going to guarantee a makeup speech. So if you're late on the speech submission, I may want documentation, and I don't guarantee a score for late submissions, but I'll hear you out. But communicate with me ahead of time, and it's not going to be a problem. Typically, as long as I have time to complete my evaluations. There'll be outlines due for speeches 2 and 3. And there won't be an outline due for the first speech. So the only graded outlines are for speeches 2 and 3. And they'll be due a few days before the video is due. I recommend that you create your outlines using Microsoft Word. Ultimately, to upload it, you'll need to either upload a .doc, a .docx, or a .pdf. So you'll have to convert whatever you use into one of those files. You can get access to Microsoft Word for free as a CSN student by clicking and following this link and following the instructions for how to download it from that page. If you do not submit an outline on time for speech 2 or 3 by the due date for that outline, then I'm not going to grade your video. I don't accept late submissions for outlines unless we've talked ahead of time and you've received approval. The reason I'm collecting your outlines before the actual speech day and making you have the outline before your video is to force conditions where you have multiple days to rehearse your speech. I'm not doing it to give you feedback on your content. I'm only grading the outlines, for general formatting. I want the outlines to help me evaluate your videos better and more accurately. If you want content-related feedback on your outline, you need to arrange that ahead of time before the outline due date by emailing me with specific questions that you have, and then I can give you feedback. But otherwise, I just want you to complete the outline so that you're able to rehearse for the speech. There'll be several reading comprehension quizzes, one for basically each chapter that we read. And it's going to focus on memory, understanding, and your ability to apply readings to examples. You will use a thing called the Respondus Lockdown browser to take the quizzes. You won't be able to take the quizzes unless you use the Lockdown browser. That's going to make it so that you can only take the quiz on your computer when you're running the quizzes, and you can't do anything else, like say go to Google and type in the answer or the questions into Google or something like that. So that's what the Respondus Lockdown browser is for. More information about that can be found on Canvas. Quizzes will be available to take once they've been posted until their due dates, and you'll have one attempt on each of the quizzes. They will be timed. I believe it's about 60 minutes per quiz. There's about somewhere between 6 to 10 questions on each of the quizzes, depending on the chapter. If you run into a technological issue with the Respondus Lockdown browsers, you can call the technical helpline. If you reach out to me, I'm going to just give you this technical helpline, and they will be able to troubleshoot it. I am not a computer technician, so don't expect me to solve your problems with that. In addition to the reading comprehension quizzes, there'll be 3 concept quizzes that will emphasize major concepts. There'll be short answer questions that will require higher level thinking than the comprehension quizzes. They'll ask you to kind of analyze, evaluate, or creatively respond to course concepts. I usually give you ahead of time an idea of what I'll ask you on these concept quizzes. So click on the concept quizzes if you want to know what's on them. You'll need to write in complete grammatically correct sentences that have been proofread carefully for errors. Unclear and confusing writing will result in point deductions. We'll take a plagiarism quiz, and it'll be based on an online workshop called Understanding and Avoiding Plagiarism, which I'll talk about just below here. There'll be a final exam based on the quizzes at the end of the semester, and a study guide will be given to help you prepare for that final exam. There will be, for each of the speeches, I will want you to turn in a topic and a thesis statement to me beforehand, and I'm going to review and give feedback to your topic and your thesis for each of your speeches. And sometimes I'm going to ask some of you to make some revisions on these. We'll go through a process of revisions. If you don't complete your revisions, you'll only be given half credit. So please complete the revisions until I have approved your topic and your thesis for all 3 speeches. As mentioned before, we'll do these My Coyote Success workshops. We'll do 3 of them throughout the semester, and the first one's coming up. They can be reached through Canvas, right through here, My Coyote Success, and it'll open it up through My CSN Go, basically, and you'll get to it through there. So there's a verbal description for how to get to it as well in the modules. In the last the last type of assignment I want to talk about in this video, I'll keep going with the syllabus in the next video, are the graded discussions. There'll be several graded discussions. They'll have instructions for them on the discussion boards, and you can read about how to do those and how to participate in those group discussions that are on the Canvas discussion boards. All right, I will pick up in the next video with the course policies and resources.